You think you know me? Sadio Mane's voice was calm, but there was something in his eyes, something that made the air in the room feel heavier. Alex Carter, the renowned investigative journalist, adjusted his tie. He had cornered politicians, exposed corruption, and dismantled careers with nothing but a microphone and the right questions. But this was different. This was Sadio Mane, and for the first time in his career, Alex wasn't sure if he was in control of the conversation or if he had just walked into a trap. The setup it had started as a simple assignment. The network wanted a high-profile exclusive. Sadio Mane was a global icon, but Alex wasn't interested in football. He was after a bigger story, a scandal, a hidden flaw, something to bring the untouchable star down. Alex had done his research. He knew how to press the right buttons, how to frame a narrative that would corner his subject. His plan was clear: push Mane on sensitive topics, his wealth, his views, his charity work in Senegal. Was it really altruism? Or was there something more beneath the surface? The interview was set in a luxury hotel in Paris. Dim lighting, an expensive leather couch, 2 glasses of untouched water between them. The cameras rolled. The world was watching. The first blow: you donate millions to build hospitals, schools, and mosques in Senegal, Alex began, leaning forward. But let's be honest, aren't you just using charity to polish your public image? Silence. Mane didn't blink. He simply studied Alex, his fingers tapping lightly against the armrest. Do you believe everything you read? Mane finally asked, his tone even. Alex smirked. I believe in facts. And yet, you twist them. That wasn't the reaction Alex expected. No defensiveness. No anger. Just cold, unsettling certainty. I don't twist anything, Sadio. I expose the truth. Mane exhaled softly. Then let's talk about the truth, Alex. But be careful, some truths are heavier than they seem. The game begins. Alex felt a flicker of unease but pushed forward. You're one of the richest footballers in the world, yet you live modestly. No flashy cars, no designer mansions. Some call it humility. Others call it a calculated PR move. Which one is it? Does it matter? Mane countered. Of course it does. People want to know the real you. The man behind the smile. Mane leaned forward slightly. The real me. His voice dropped just a fraction. The real me has seen things you couldn't imagine. The real me has walked roads where people don't come back. The real me. He paused as if reconsidering. Then he smiled, small, knowing. You wouldn't understand. Alex felt his grip on the interview slipping. He needed to regain control. Then help me understand, Alex pressed. Because right now it looks like you're hiding something. A flicker of amusement crossed Mane's face. Then he reached into his pocket and placed something on the table. A small, battered notebook. You want the truth? Mane's voice was almost a whisper now. Then read. Alex hesitated. This wasn't part of the plan. He glanced at the notebook, old, weathered, pages slightly torn at the edges. What the hell was this? Mane leaned back, arms crossed. Your move, journalist. And just like that, the power shifted. Cliffhanger ending. Alex picks up the notebook, his fingers trembling slightly. He flips open the first page, and what he reads changes everything. To be continued. This is just episode 1. Over the next 9 episodes, the story will unravel layers of hidden truths, psychological warfare, and a shocking revelation that will leave Alex questioning everything he thought he knew. Alex Carter, a seasoned investigative journalist, thought he had the upper hand. But when Sadio Mane placed a battered notebook in front of him, the game changed. Now, with trembling fingers, Alex opens the first page, unaware that what he's about to read will shatter his reality. The first words. Alex's pulse quickened as he flipped the cover open. The pages smelled of dust and time, the ink slightly faded. At the top of the first page, written in precise, deliberate strokes, was a single phrase in French: Ce que voyant la vérité ne revient jamais. Those who see the truth never come back. A chill prickled down his spine. He swallowed hard and turned to Mane. What is this? Mane studied him carefully, his expression unreadable. Keep reading. Alex exhaled and continued. The first entry was dated September 14, 2002. Today, I saw a man die for the first time. He wasn't sick. He wasn't old. He simply asked the wrong question. They made him disappear. But I still remember his name. Alex's breath hitched. His journalist instincts flared, scanning for clues. The handwriting was steady, almost too composed for something so unsettling. Whose journal is this? He demanded. Mane tilted his head slightly. You tell me. Alex's eyes flicked back to the page, turning carefully to the next entry. September 16, 2002. They told us never to speak of it. That silence is survival. But I can't forget what I saw. I can't pretend it never happened. If I ever disappear, know this, there is more to this world than they let us see. Alex's fingers curled around the edges of the notebook. Something about this felt wrong. Too real. Too raw. Is this your writing? Alex asked, barely keeping the unease from his voice. Maine didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. You came here looking for a story, Alex. You wanted something bigger than football. His voice was quiet, almost dangerous in its calmness. Now you have it. The question is, what will you do with it? The unraveling Alex clenched his jaw. He needed control. This was just another interview, another puzzle to solve. Let's be clear, Sadio, he said, measuring his words. You expect me to believe that this notebook is some kind of secret? That it holds some kind of truth? Maine's gaze was steady. You tell me. Alex exhaled sharply, frustration creeping into his voice. Enough with the riddles. Is this some psychological game? Some elaborate PR stunt? Maine smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was the kind of smile that suggested he knew something Alex didn't. You're still thinking like a journalist. And you're still avoiding the question. Silence stretched between them. The cameras were still rolling, but for the first time in his career, Alex had the eerie sense that he was no longer the one conducting the interview. Then Maine finally spoke. I'll tell you a story, Alex. But only if you're ready to listen. Alex hesitated. He should walk away. End the interview. But something about the way Maine said those words, something about that notebook made it impossible. I'm listening. The beginning of the end. Maine exhaled, his eyes momentarily distant as if he were seeing something far beyond the walls of this luxurious hotel. When I was 10 years old, I learned that not everything that disappears is truly gone. Alex frowned. What does that mean? Maine looked at him, unblinking. It means you're asking the wrong question. And then, just as Alex was about to push further, the power in the hotel flickered. The lights dimmed. The air felt heavier, and from somewhere beyond the room, down in the dark corridors of the building, there was a sound. A whisper. A name. Alex's own name. Alex Carter, a sharp-tongued journalist, thought he could corner Sadio Maine in an interview. But when Maine handed him a mysterious notebook filled with chilling accounts, the game changed. As Alex read, the lights flickered, and a whisper from somewhere deep in the hotel uttered his name. Something was watching them. The whisper. Alex froze. His grip tightened around the notebook as a chill slid down his spine. Did you hear that? He asked, his voice lower than before. Maine didn't move, didn't blink. I told you, Alex. Some truths are heavier than they seem. Alex tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. This is ridiculous. Someone's messing with us. He turned toward the cameraman. Please tell me you caught that on audio. The cameraman, a burly man named Marcus, looked pale. He tapped his headphones, then the camera. Nothing, boss. I heard it, but it's not on the recording. Alex's stomach nodded. He turned back to Maine, but the footballer was watching him with unsettling calmness. Your name isn't in that book, Alex. Maine said quietly. Not yet. Alex slammed the notebook shut. Enough. This is some elaborate trick. Maybe some of your friends think it's funny to screw with a journalist. But the lights flickered again. This time, they didn't come back on. For 3 long seconds, the room was submerged in complete darkness. Then, a breath. Right next to Alex's ear. You shouldn't have come here. The lights snapped back on. Alex whipped around, his pulse hammering. The room was the same. The furniture was untouched. The only difference? The notebook was open again, and the next page had been written on. Right in front of them. The new entry. Alex's breath came shallow. He hadn't touched the pages. No one had. But there it was, fresh ink, drying on the paper as if an invisible hand had just finished writing. He read the words aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. You were warned. The silence that followed was suffocating. No, Alex muttered, shaking his head. No, this isn't real. Someone planted this. This is a joke. Maine leaned back in his chair. His eyes, sharp, steady, never left Alex. You think you know how the world works, don't you? I know when I'm being manipulated, Alex snapped. Maine gave a small, almost sad smile. Then tell me, Alex, who wrote that? Alex opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no answer, because deep down, beneath all his skepticism and bravado, He knew something was very, very wrong. A door left open. Marcus took a shaky step back, looking at his camera as if questioning reality. Boss, maybe we should. Then, bang. A loud, sudden noise echoed from the hallway outside. The kind of noise that made your body instinctively freeze. A door slamming. Or being forced open. Marcus turned to Alex. His face was pale. Dude, we are not alone. Maine stood up, stretching his shoulders. No, we're not. His voice was eerily calm. He looked at Alex. Are you ready to see the truth? Alex hesitated. His rational mind screamed to leave, to get out while he still could. But the journalist in him, the part that had chased stories into war zones, that had uncovered lies at the highest levels, couldn't walk away. Show me. Maine nodded once, then walked toward the door. Alex took a deep breath, gripping the notebook in his hands, and stepped into the darkness. Alex Carter thought he was in control of the interview. But after reading a chilling message in an old notebook, strange things began happening. The lights flickered. A whisper called his name. And then, something moved outside the room. Now, following Sadio Maine into the unknown, Alex is about to learn that some doors should never be opened. The hallway of shadows, the hotel hallway stretched before them, eerily silent. The dim emergency lights flickered, casting long, shifting shadows against the walls. Alex swallowed hard, his journalistic instincts warring with pure human fear. This is insane, he whispered. Maine didn't respond. He moved forward with a quiet certainty, his body relaxed, as if he had walked through places far darker than this before. Behind them, Marcus gripped the camera like a lifeline. His voice trembled. Guys, maybe we should just... Then they heard it, a slow, deliberate knock. Not from a door ahead, but from behind them. Alex turned, his breath catching. The door to their suite, the one they had just walked through, was now slightly opened. A shadow shifted inside. Something was in there, watching them, waiting. The wrong decision move, Maine said, his voice low but firm. Alex's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But a sick, insatiable curiosity rooted him in place. Wait, Alex whispered, gripping Maine's arm. I need to see. Maine studied him for a long second. Then don't say I didn't warn you. Slowly, Alex pushed the door open. The room was not how they left it. The chairs were overturned. The water glasses shattered on the floor. The camera tripod lay twisted, bent at an unnatural angle. But the worst part, the notebook.it was now on the table, wide open, and the pages, once old and yellowed, were now blank, all except for one, a fresh sentence scrawled in sharp, uneven ink. Who is holding the camera? Alex's blood ran cold. What the hell? Marcus made a strangled noise behind him. Alex turned, and his stomach dropped, because Marcus, his cameraman, his friend, was not holding the camera.it was still strapped to his chest. The lens was pointing toward them, and yet, on the camera's small screen, someone else was filming them. The footage that shouldn't exist. Marcus yanked the camera off his chest, his fingers fumbling over the controls. Nope, I don't like this. Play it back, Maine said. Marcus hesitated, then pressed a button. The footage rewound, then played. Alex felt his pulse hammering as he watched. There they were, walking out of the hotel room just moments ago. But as the camera lingered on the empty room behind them, something stepped into frame. A tall, thin figure, featureless, watching them leave, and just before the camera cut off, it turned its head. As if it knew they would watch this footage. As if it was still here. Marcus dropped the camera. Nope, we are leaving. Right now. Alex couldn't move. His body refused, because in the reflection of the dark hotel window, something was standing right behind him. The door that should have stayed closed. Maine grabbed Alex's arm and yanked him backward, breaking the spell. Move! Alex stumbled, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He turned, expecting to see something there, something in the room with them, but the space was empty. Only the notebook remained, now closed again. Alex shook his head violently. This isn't real. This is a trick. Maine's voice was quiet, but firm. Do you still think this is a game? Alex pressed his fingers to his temples, trying to control the pounding in his skull. What the hell is happening? Maine studied him. You came looking for a story, but the truth? It doesn't want to be found. Marcus was already at the door, hands shaking as he pulled it open. Screw this. I don't care if I never work again. I'm getting out of here. He bolted down the hallway. Alex hesitated only a second before following Maine. He stayed behind, watching, waiting, as if he already knew what was coming next. Alex Carter and his crew tried to escape the hotel after witnessing terrifying, inexplicable events. A notebook that changed on its own, eerie whispers, and a figure in their camera footage that wasn't supposed to be there. But as they ran, something followed them, and now, trapped in a stairwell with nowhere to go, Alex is about to realize. Some things aren't meant to be uncovered. The locked door, the stairwell reeked of damp concrete and stale air. Marcus pounded on the emergency exit at the bottom, his breath ragged. It's locked. Why the hell is it locked? Alex grabbed the handle, twisting it violently. Nothing. Try another floor, he barked. Marcus bolted up the steps, Alex right behind him. The stairwell spiraled upward, each floor marked by a rusted metal door. Level 3. Locked. Level 4. Locked. Level 5. Alex froze. The sound. Not from above. Not from below. But right behind them, a single deliberate footstep. Alex turned his head, pulse hammering. The stairwell was empty. Did you hear that? Marcus whispered. Another footstep. Closer. Alex's mouth went dry. There was no one there. And yet, the sound was coming toward them. Marcus lost it. He slammed his fists on the nearest door. Help! Somebody open up. Silence. Then, a soft whisper. You shouldn't have followed the story. Alex's heart stopped. Because the whisper. It came from right beside his ear. The descent. Alex reacted on instinct. He grabbed Marcus and yanked him down the stairs. Back the way they came. It didn't matter where they ended up, they just had to move. The footsteps followed. Faster now. Multiple. Not one. Not two. A dozen unseen things chasing them through the stairwell. The air grew thick, almost suffocating. The walls seemed narrower than before, the stairwell longer. Alex stumbled, nearly falling down an entire flight. Marcus grabbed his arm, yanking him back to his feet. Where are we going? Marcus screamed. Alex had no answer, because the stairs weren't ending. The sign that had once read Level 2 was gone. Just gray walls and endless steps. A realization clawed at Alex's mind. They weren't in the hotel anymore. The truth. Sadio Maine knew. A voice echoed in the distance. One they recognized. Sadio Maine. Keep moving, Alex. Alex's breath caught. He turned, scanning the darkness. Where are you? Ahead of you. But you have to see it first. See what? Alex shouted. No response. Then, the stairs ended, not at another door, not at a hotel hallway, but in an open field. A dry, cracked earth beneath their feet. A sky with no stars, no sun, just an endless gray expanse above. And ahead of them, a massive structure, ancient, impossible. A towering, black stone door. Marcus clutched Alex's arm, his voice barely a whisper. What the hell is this place? Alex had no answer. But Sadio Maine did. The footballer stood at the base of the stone door, watching them. Waiting. Alex swallowed hard. Tell me this is a dream. Maine gave a small, knowing smile. You already know it's not. Then, the door began to open. And something on the other side was waiting for them. Alex Carter and Marcus thought they were escaping the hotel. But the stairwell twisted into something wrong. An endless descent, whispers in the dark, footsteps that shouldn't exist. Now, they stand before an ancient black stone door in a world that defies reality. And Sadio Maine is already waiting for them. But the true horror. The door is starting to open. The other side. A deep, gut-wrenching groan filled the air as the stone door creaked open. Dust swirled. The dry earth trembled beneath their feet. Alex stepped back, every instinct screaming run. Nope, nope, Marcus muttered. His hands shook. I'm out. We are not going in there. Maine didn't even flinch. He stood calmly, watching the widening gap in the door a space beyond blackness. A void. Then, a hand emerged from the dark. Not human. Not any species Alex had ever seen. Its skin was wrong. Not flesh. Not stone. Something in between. Fingers too long. Nails jagged, blackened, curling inward. Then another hand. Then something stepped forward. A silhouette. Tall. Slender. Unnatural. And when it lifted its head, it had no face. It knows you, Alex. Alex's vision swam. His lungs felt too small. What the hell is that? He choked. The faceless figure tilted its head, like it was listening. Then it spoke, not aloud, inside his mind. You were warned. The voice wasn't a voice. It was a scraping of thoughts, raw and ancient, a concept forced into his brain. Alex staggered backward, pressing his hands to his temples. No, this isn't real. Maine finally spoke. It knows you, Alex. Alex's blood turned to ice. What does that mean? Maine's expression was unreadable. It means you should have walked away when you had the chance. Marcus turned and ran. The exit that never existed. Marcus bolted across the cracked earth, legs pumping. Alex wanted to follow. Every survival instinct screamed go. But something in the faceless figure's presence held him still. Marcus made it 50 feet. Then he stopped. Not like he had chosen to, like he had hit something. Alex's stomach lurched, because there was nothing there. But Marcus, his body was frozen mid-sprint. His hands pressed against an invisible barrier. His face twisted in panic. Guys. And then he was gone. Not pulled, not attacked. Just gone. Like he had never been there. The price of knowing Alex couldn't breathe. He turned to Maine, his voice breaking. What did you do? Maine met his gaze, calm but not unkind. I didn't do anything, Alex. Alex's hands shook. Where is he? Where did he go? The faceless figure took a step forward. Alex felt its presence pressing against his mind. Studying him. You asked for the truth. The words echoed inside his skull. Cold. Absolute. Alex couldn't think. I don't want this. I just wanted an interview. I didn't sign up for. You already did. The ground shifted beneath him. The sky darkened. Maine exhaled, almost sadly. Alex, you came looking for something bigger than football. Alex's vision blurred. And you found it. The deal. The faceless figure extended a hand. Not to attack. To offer. Maine spoke softly. This is your choice. What happens if I take it? Alex whispered. Maine didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. Alex already knew, and the worst part. A small, terrible part of him wanted to know the answer. His fingers trembled. He reached forward and took the faceless figure's hand. Alex Carter made a choice. A terrible choice. He took the faceless figure's hand. And in that instant, reality shattered. Marcus was already gone. The stairwell, the hotel, the world Alex knew. All of it faded. Now, trapped in a space beyond human understanding, Alex is about to learn the final, horrifying truth. The void between worlds. Alex fell. Not through air. Not through time. Through nothing. His body wasn't moving. But his mind, his soul was plummeting. Images flashed. Memories ripped apart. His mother's face. Gone. His childhood home. Gone. The sound of his own voice. Fading. Then a whisper. You are almost ready. Alex's body slammed onto something solid. He gasped. Lungs burning. He was somewhere new. A blackened wasteland. No sun, no sky. Just an endless horizon of ruins. Crumbling buildings that had never existed on Earth. And standing over him, Sadio Maine. But something was wrong. Maine's final warning. Maine looked older. His face lined, his eyes weary. Like he had been here for years. You shouldn't have taken its hand, Alex. Alex's head spun. Where am I? Maine didn't answer. Instead, he stepped aside. revealing something behind him, a monolithic slab of stone, towering, breathing, and carved into its surface. Alex's own name, right below Marcus, right below dozens of others, names of people who had come before, people who had never returned. Alex's stomach twisted. What is this? Maine exhaled. The price of knowledge. Alex shook his head violently. No, no, this isn't real. You brought me here. You knew. I tried to warn you. Maine's voice was almost gentle. But you wouldn't listen. The truth that burns the faceless figure emerged from the darkness. Alex staggered back. Stay away from me. But the figure didn't move. It simply raised one long, jagged finger, pointing at the stone slab. His name. The whisper returned. Now you know the cost. Alex's pulse pounded. His vision blurred, and suddenly, he understood. This place, this prison. It was where the seekers of truth were buried. Not their bodies, their minds, people who had searched too far, asked the wrong questions. Journalists, historians, scientists, men like Alex. They had all been consumed, and now, it was his turn. The last escape. No. Alex's voice was hoarse, desperate. I don't accept this. Maine shook his head. That's not your choice anymore. Alex's legs moved on their own, walking forward, toward the slab, toward his own name. No, no, I'm not done. Alex screamed. The faceless figure tilted its head, and then, it spoke one final time. You are. The reporter who never came back. The world collapsed. Alex vanished. Maine stood alone. He stared at the slab, at the newest name carved into its surface. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away, because he knew, soon, another journalist would come. Another man who thought he could uncover the truth, and when that day came, he would be waiting. Alex Carter was erased. His name joined the others, the ones who searched too far. Now, Sadio Maine walks alone. But this is not the end. Because another reporter will come. They always do. The beginning of the end. 5 months later. The air in Dakar was thick with heat. A new reporter stepped out of a taxi, adjusting his tie. Young, ambitious, hungry for a story. Exactly like Alex Carter. He checked his phone, scrolling through old notes. Alex Carter missing. Last seen investigating Sadio Maine. He smirked. Let's see if I can do better. He didn't notice the old man watching from across the street, didn't notice the way the locals avoided his gaze, that he only saw the story ahead. And that was his first mistake. The interview that shouldn't exist. The reporter found Maine where they all did. A quiet cafe. An empty table. Sadio Maine looked up, smiling. You're here about Alex Carter, aren't you? The reporter stiffened. How did you? They always send someone new. Maine's voice was calm. The reporter hesitated. So, is he dead? Maine's smile faded. No. Then where is he? Maine's fingers tapped the table. A slow, steady rhythm. Then he said the last words Alex Carter had ever heard. You are almost ready. The cafe vanished, the sky darkened, and the reporter was gone. The final warning somewhere, in a place that shouldn't exist. A stone slab shifted. A new name appeared beneath Alex Carter's, and in the distance, the faceless figure waited. Because truth is a hunger, and no matter how many warnings are given, there is always someone who doesn't listen.